welcome back to the U.S. Navy History Podcast. I am Dale, and I am joined by Christoph. Hey,
Hey,
dude.
how's it going, man? Excuse me, sir. Didn't mean, yeah, can't be too casual around here because there's been some flogging.
Yes, we will not do that today because you did fix
Oh,
your.
good. I caught myself this time. See, it's not if you do something wrong, it's what you do after that makes the biggest impact.
Right. But if it happens again, there will be more flogs.
Yeah, that goes without saying. I mean, you said it.
Yeah.
So here we are.
All right. So we're going to try to finish up the Banana Wars today. I have a feeling we can do it.
I have faith in you, in us.
All right. Yes. So we're going to start with the U.S.'s occupation of Nicaragua. So in 1909, Nicaraguan President Jose Santos Zelaya of the Liberal Party faced opposition from the Conservative Party. Imagine that. The liberals and conservatives going at each other.
That only happens in America, dude. This is
I beg to
weird.
differ.
It's just-
So the conservatives were led by Governor Juan Jose Estrada of Bluefields, who received the U.S.'s. So the U.S. had limited military presence in Nicaragua, having only one patrolling U.S. Navy ship off the coast of Bluefields. And it was there in order to protect the lives and interests of American citizens who lived there.
Okay.
So per usual.
Yeah, it's so weird. I mean, if I start living in a different country, will the military help me out or I have
Only
interests.
you have interest doesn't mean the government has them.
Mm, that's true.
And besides, this is a different world.
Yeah, that's true.
This is back when all the major powers were trying to control all the little powers
Mm,
publicly.
right. Yes. But well, the internet helped simplify that so they could be done more secretly.
So the Conservative Party wanted to overthrow Zelia, which led to the Estrada's rebellion in December of 1909. Two Americans, guys named Leonard Gross and Leroy Cannon, were captured and indicted for allegedly joining the rebellion and laying mines.
Whoa.
Mm. So Zelia ordered the execution of these two guys. And you can just imagine that the U.S. is like, our relationship is now done.
Yeah. Wow.
So the forces of Chamorro and Nicaraguan General Juan Estrada, they both led conservative revolts against Zelia's government. They captured three small towns on the border with Costa Rica and were fomenting open rebellion in the capital of Managua. U.S. naval warships that had been waiting off of Mexico and Costa Rica now moved into position.
Mm.
These were the protected cruisers USS Des Moines, USS Tacoma, and the collier USS Hannibal. And they came into the harbor at Bluefields on the Atlantic coast with the USS Prairie that was en route for Colon, Panama, with 700 Marines.
Yep.
So on December 12th, Albany, with 280 Marines, and the gunboat USS Yorktown, with 155, arrived at Corinto, Nicaragua, to join the gunboat USS Vicksburg, with her crew of 155.
So there's a lot of ships and a lot of guys coming into harbor, and this is to back Estrada or to say, Estrada, don't execute those.
Well, this was to protect American citizens and property.
Right. Okay.
which just happened to help support the rebellion.
Well, okay.
So Zalia, he decided to resign on December 14th, and he picked his successor, Jose Madriz, and he was then elected unanimously on December 20th, 1909. The U.S. Secretary of State, a guy named Philander C. Knox. That's quite a first
Yeah, I was
name,
gonna say
Philander.
maybe he was named after his father, who was a philanderer.
Philanderer.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I got it.
Okay, okay.
He admonished that the U.S. would not resume diplomatic relations with Nicaragua until Madriz demonstrated that he had a responsible government and prepared to make reparations for all the wrongs that were done to American citizens.
Hmm.
Zayla, on the other hand, requested and then was granted asylum in Mexico, and he was escorted there under armed guard by a Mexican gunboat, the General Guerrero.
You know, I've just added something to my bucket list. Seeking asylum under armed guard. I think that'd be kind of cool.
To Mexico.
Well, I didn't say that.
Oh, okay.
To the
Which
Seychelles,
country then?
the Seychelles probably, or some tropical paradise, but still has access to the internet. So we could continue to
Uh,
do this podcast, you see?
well, no, I get the internet access, yes, but why do you think you deserve a tropical paradise?
Look, this is my bucket list, okay? This- you got to aim high. So if you miss, it's just like, well, all right, not a tropical paradise, but Iceland's still nice or whatever.
We will send you to Antarctica.
So now you're on the committee to exile me, huh?
You put me there.
Oh, I did? Dang it. I should really double check my bucket list. Oh, that's on me. Anyway, he's going to Mexico.
Yeah, he got to Salina Cruz, Mexico on December 23rd, with the Albany watching very closely. The flagship of the Nicaraguan Expeditionary Squadron, under a guy named Admiral William W. Kimball, he was on the Albany and spent the next 5 months in Central America, mostly at Corriento, maintaining U.S. neutrality in the ongoing rebellion. It's just because the leadership change doesn't mean that they wanted the same government in.
Right.
And, sometimes the US press criticized our neutrality.
I mean, if we were supporting the rebel leader, I could see that.
So by mid-March 1909, the insurgency led by Estrada and Chamorro seems to be collapsed because it seemed that Madrid's had gotten its strength back.
Oh, okay.
And at that point, the US squadron completely withdrew from Nicaraguan waters.
That's a weird incident.
Oh, we're not done.
Okay. Well, continue
No,
then.
we're not done. So the next year, May 27th, 1910, the U.S. Marine Corps major, a guy named Sam Smedley Butler, he arrives on the coast of Nicaragua with 250 Marines. Now, they arrived there under the purpose of providing security in Bluefields. The U.S. Secretary of State, you remember his name?
I think it was something like Sylvester Xavier Tomlinson.
We were just talking about his first name, Philander.
Philander. That's right. I was close.
So I guess you could say Jose Madrid's administration needed to have pressure put on them because the Jose Madrid's administration, his new administration, started having pressure by Eastern rebel forces that started coming back.
Oh boy.
And he was like, you know what? I think I'm done. I'm going to resign. And so in August, that is when Juan Estrada becomes president of Nicaragua
Okay.
and is officially recognized by the United States. So the rebels win.
It sounds like it. I'm curious what the trajectory of the nation was after that. Why was the US backing it versus the predecessor? And like I have questions, but nothing a trip to the library wouldn't resolve.
Well, I could just tell you now
Let's do it.
because Estrada was like friendly to the US where the other administration was not.
Oh, well, that answers
That's
that
the way
question.
it always is.
Yeah. It's like, you're not going to be friends with us? Fine. We're going to be friends with your enemy.
Matter of fact, Estrada's administration allowed President, do you know who the president is?
1909? Was it Taft?
It was William
Oh,
Howard Taft,
boom.
good old WHT. So he allowed him and the Secretary of State, who
Philander?
ah,
Mhm.
to apply the dollar diplomacy
Oh,
or the dollar for bullets policy. And the goal, of course, was to undermine European financial strength in the region, which is what this whole banana
right.
wars things was about.
Hmm.
And also, the European financial interests also threatened the American interest to construct the a canal in the isthmus and to protect American private investment in the development or exploitation of Nicaragua's natural resources. Because I mean, come on, it's exploitation.
Is it?
Whenever one country goes into another country to get their natural resources,
And
yes,
pay an honest wage for it?
it's not honest, especially not here
I guess.
in this
Yeah,
time.
early 1900s. Maybe.
So the policy opened the door for American banks to lend money to the Nicaraguan government.
Uh-oh.
Yep. Which ensures the United States control over the country's finances.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have history
See?
now to look back on to say, "Oh, don't do that, country."
Yeah. So by 1912, the ongoing political conflict in Nicaragua between the liberal and conservative factions had deteriorated to a point that the U.S. investments under President Taft's dollar diplomacy and all the other loans to the government were in trouble. And you know how people get when their money is being threatened.
That's true.
Yeah. So the Minister of War, a guy named General Luis Mena, forced Estrada to resign, which means that the vice president stepped up, who was a conservative named Adolfo Diaz. Now, Diaz, he had very strong connection with the United States, which means that his people started not to like him. This is when nationalistic sentiments started to
Oh,
arise
yeah.
in the military.
I think that was a pretty global phenomenon around that time. Like, all the
Yeah.
countries got really into their bravado.
Hmm. So Mina started to gain support from the National Assembly and accused Diaz of selling out the nation to New York bankers.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So, as puppet politicians do when they're in trouble, they ask their puppet masters for help. So, the US government, because Mina's opposition now turned into rebellion.
Oh.
So, Knox goes to Taft and is like, hey, dude, we need some military intervention. Because, the Nicaraguan railway from Corinto to Granada is under threat. And this is going to screw our money up.
It's like a bad Western.
Yeah.
It's the corrupt sheriff goes to the corrupt mayor. Anyway,
Yeah.
continue.
So by the middle of 1912, Mina persuaded the National Assembly to name him his successor to Diaz when Diaz's term expired in 1913. And the US was like, no, we don't recognize that. And that called Mina to rebel against the government.
Oh,
Yeah. So he takes one of his generals, a guy named Benjamin Zeladon, in a stronghold at Mazaya to get to him quickly in Granada. Yes, he was like, I know how to play these Americans. And he's like, hey guys, I cannot guarantee the safety of any US citizens or property in my country. You need to come help.
yep. Sounds like he does know how to play us.
Yep.
I was like, oh, yeah, we'll be there.
Yeah. So, in the first couple weeks of August, Mina and his forces captured steamers on lakes Managua and Nicaragua that were owned by a rail company managed by U.S. interests.
Hmm.
So, these guys are not helping themselves out.
No.
Insurgents attacked the capital, subjecting it to a 4-hour bombardment. And so, the U.S. Minister George Wetzel, he sent a telegram to Washington to send U.S. troops to safeguard the U.S. legation. But at the time that this started popping off, the gunboat USS Annapolis was actually en route to patrol off the west coast of Nicaragua. So in the summer of 1912, 100 U.S. Marines arrived. They were also followed by Smedley Butler's 350 Marines from Panama.
Wow.
So the commander of the American forces was Admiral William Henry Hudson Sutherland. That's a name. He was joined by Colonel Joseph Henry Pendleton and 750 Marines. Their main goal was to secure the railroad from Corinto to Managua. So on August 4th, with the Nicaraguan president saying, come on, guys, a landing force of 100 Marines was sent ashore from the Annapolis to the capital. And these guys were there to protect American citizens and guard the U.S. legation during the insurgency. On the East Coast, the North Atlantic Fleet protected cruiser USS Tacoma was ordered to go to the Bluefields, where she arrived on August 6th and landed 50 men to protect Americans' lives and property there. A force of 350 Marines shipped north on the collier USS Justin from the Canal Zone and made landfall at Managua to reinforce the litigation guard on August 15th. So, being hidden by these maneuvers, the Denver and 7 other ships from the Pacific Fleet arrived at Corinto from late August to September under the command of Rear Admiral W.H.H. Sutherland. I was not going to say the whole thing.
I was going to say, that's quite a name.
Yeah.
William Henry Hudson. Is that right?
William Henry Hudson Sutherland.
So close to Harrison. That's the only reason I remember.
So the USS Denver, commanded by Commander Thomas Washington, arrived at Corinto on August 27th with 350 sailors and Marines on board. Now, Admiral Sutherland's priorities were to reestablish and safeguard the disrupted railway and cable lines between the principal port of Corinto and Managua, 70 miles to the southeast. That's 70 miles he's got to try to protect.
That seems like a lot.
Daunting?
Yeah, that's...
Yeah. So on August 29th, the USS Denver landed 120 men under Lieutenant Alan B. Reed, who was actually the navigator.
Hmm.
And so he went in there to protect the railway line and then proceeded south to Grenada on the north shore of Lake Nicaragua. Stayed there and milled about for a little while and then went back on October 24th and 25th. So they landed another force of 25 men, one officer, 24 enlisted at San Juan del Sur, which is on the southern end of the Nicaraguan isthmus. And they were there from August 30th to September 6th. And then again from September 11th to 27th. And there they were supposed to protect the cable station and custom house, which were American
Yeah,
interests.
I mean, it seems like their whole infrastructure is American interests.
Yeah. So Denver remained at station there in San Juan del Sur, and their whole objective was to be there to relay wireless messages from all the Navy ships to and from Washington.
Yeah, why so this is radio, right? I know that was developed around this time frame.
Yeah, this would be like Morse code
Okay, I see.
because you're still not doing voice
No.
communications at this time.
Okay.
But they did this until September 30th when they left to go on patrol. So September 22nd rolls around, and two battalions of Marines and a artillery battery under Major Smedley Butler, they enter Grenada, where they are reinforced with the Marine First Battalion under Joseph H. Pendleton. So General Mina then surrenders his 700 troops to Sutherland and is deported to Panama. Uh, Then on the 27th through October 1st, the government bombard Baraka and Coyote, which are two hills that overlook the important railway line at Mesia and Zeladon.
I'm familiar,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah,
No, not really.
yeah.
But yes, the railway line.
And then they occupy it with about 550 men.
It's a lot of guys.
So on October 2nd, the Nicaraguan government delivers a surrender ultimatum to Zeladon, and he refuses.
Really?
Yeah. Now, Rear Admiral Sutherland, he realizes that the government forces would not be able to defeat the insurgents by bombardment or infantry assault. So he orders his Marine commanders to prepare to take the hills themselves. So on October 3rd, Butler and his men, who just got back from capturing Grenada, they open up with artillery.
Dang, these guys are busy.
And this bombardment goes all day. And they do not take any return fire from the insurgents at all. So in the morning of October 4th, just before the sun comes up, Butler and his 250 Marines start moving up the hill. The bigger one, Coyote, and they're to converge with Pendleton's 600 Marines and a battalion of sailors from the California.
Oh, it's interesting.
Yeah.
He's
So
so Camp Pendleton is named after this guy, the
yeah.
Marine Corps base,
Hmm.
and he's on the California, which is the base is in California. Anyway, strange connection. I had to say it. It has been said. Continue your story.
Okay. So once they get to the top, the American forces they seize the rebels' artillery, and they use that to rout the rebel troops.
That's pretty good use of enemy supply.
Yeah. Now, what they didn't know was that most of the rebel troops and the leader, Zeladon himself, had actually fled the previous day during the day-long bombardment.
That's the time to do it when hell is raining
So,
down upon you.
so pretty much they were just mopping up the rear guard.
Oh,
So these guys they mostly ran to Masaya, and this is where the government troops captured and killed most of them,
ooh.
which included the leader Zeladon.
Yeah, well, that's what happens to rebels, at least in this time frame.
Depends on the rebels. Some are successful.
Oh yeah, like Washington's rebels against the British.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. It's not a rebel if you win.
Castro Castro was successful,
True. Yeah. I think if the rebels win, you can call yourself a patriot.
and if they lose, you can call yourself a traitor.
Right. Yeah. Risky business.
Yeah, but I mean, you don't become rebels if you don't believe in what you're fighting for.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you're not halfway in usually with respect to a rebellion against a superior power.
This capture did not stop the occupation
Oh,
from the US because just because one group was caught doesn't mean there's not more.
true.
Yeah. So on October 6th, 1,000 sailors and Marines from the USS California, USS Colorado, and the USS Denver, led by Marine Lieutenant Colonel Charles G. Long, they captured the city of Leon, which is the last stronghold of the rebels. So on October 23rd, Sutherland announced that he's going to withdraw most of his U.S. landing forces in early November after the Nicaraguan elections.
Okay. That's some interesting timing.
Well, he wants to try to make sure that they're there to make sure that they were fair and impartial, right?
I
Right?
could,
Wink, wink.
yeah. One might consider their presence as an influence, but
Yeah, because everybody knows how fair and impartial U.S. elections were at this time.
yeah. USA. USA. Oh, you're being
I
sarcastic.
was, yeah,
Oh, my chanting seems inappropriate now.
yeah. So after this point, it was determined that everybody was at peace. So almost all the U.S. Marines and sailors that numbered approximately 2,350 were brought back aboard naval vessels. And they leaving about 100 Marines to serve as a legation guard.
Oh, wow.
There were about 37 Americans killed in action during this whole thing. Um, Unknown numbers of Nicaraguans.
I could see that.
So that was our occupation of Nicaragua.
Huh. That's interesting. I'm wondering if there's any Nicaraguans out there that can tell us if there's any bad blood still over 100 years later. With the Americans, I mean.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it just depends on who they would have rooted for.
That's true. And also, they may have bigger fish to fry. It's like, we could like or hate you guys, but we've got this other thing going on that, honestly,
Mhm.
I'm not very intimate with the knowledge of Nicaraguan politics. So I don't know.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to move on over to the United States occupation of Haiti.
Mm,
So between 1911 and 1915, a series of political assassinations and forced exiles saw the presidency of Haiti change 6 times.
whoa. That's a.
Yeah. That's 1 to 2 changes a year on average.
Yeah. Oof.
So, different revolutionary armies carried out different coups in this 4-year period. Each of them were formed by peasant brigades from the mountains of the north along the Dominican border, and they were enlisted by rival political factions under the promises of money, which they would get paid after a successful revolution via plunder.
Yeah, that's oh, okay. I was gonna say that's some serious delayed gratification.
Yeah. Now, the US was very apprehensive about Germany and roles that may or may not have been real that they were doing to intervene in the Western Hemisphere, which included Haiti. To that they thought that Germany was trying to exert its influence as a rival power,
Okay.
which was seen as increasingly hostile to American domination under the Monroe Doctrine.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Monroe was not about domination. It was about keeping those old world greedy hands off these new countries, right?
So that the Monroe policy could put their greedy hands in these new
That was
nations.
an unforeseen side effect.
Oh, no, it was very
Okay,
foreseeable.
that's true. Yeah, history sure has a lot of interesting nuance isn't the right word because it's not nuance. It's just glaringly obvious moments of, oh, wow, I can't believe that happened. So, yes,
Yeah.
Germany's potentially involved in Haiti. What is America going to do about it?
In the lead up to WW1, the strategic importance of Hispaniola and its manpower, material wealth, and its port facilities were on the radar of almost all naval staffs operating in the Caribbean,
Hmm.
which included the Germans.
Yeah.
This led to German military and intelligence investment across the island as part of a wider network of German espionage and military interests in Latin America and the Caribbean. So the fear of German imperial ambitions was felt by the small German community in Haiti, which numbered about 200 in 1910. And it wielded a very high amount of economic power. The German the German nationals controlled about 80% of the country's international commerce.
Whoa.
They owned and operated utilities in Cap Haitian and Port-au-Prince, which is the main wharf and tramway in the capital. And they also owned a railroad serving the plain of Cul-de-sac. The German community, for their part, were more than willing to integrate into Haitian society, which is kind of weird for, racists going into somebody else's country.
Yeah, definitely.
But the French had a very big population there as well. It was actually bigger than the Germans, and they were not willing for it at all.
Yeah, that's very French of them.
Yeah. The some Germans did also marry into the nation's most prominent families, and this bypassed constitutional probation against foreign land ownership.
Ah, very clever.
Yes. These Germans also retained strong ties back to Germany and to the German military and intelligence networks in Haiti. And these guys also funded numerous revolutions.
Oh, like those assassinations we heard about at the top of this portion?
Well, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
the coups.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
'Cause I was
Uh huh.
thinking that was 1 or 2 coups in that time frame, I could kinda see, but 6 changes of hands, that's or I guess 5 changes of hands to 6 people. That's a very large number in such a tight time frame. So, it
Yeah.
makes sense that somebody was behind it.
So because of all of this, they pose an economic threat to American interests. You're threatening the
There we
money. Guess what's
go.
going to happen?
Don't mess with the money.
Yep. Yeah. So they made American political and military leadership fear that they were just stacking the cards for the imperial government in Berlin. So, in an effort to limit German influence in 1910 and 1911, the State Department backed American investors assembled by the National Bank of New York
Uh,
in acquiring control of the Banque Nationale de Haiti, which
oh.
which was the nation's only commercial bank and government treasury.
I think that was JP Morgan's bank, right? The New York
Uh,
bank? I know around this time, he starts getting involved, as the prominent banker of his day in a lot of, I guess, forward thinking, in a way, experimental investment opportunities, but also kinda shady stuff, and this would be one of them. Let's acquire the national treasury of another country.
yeah. The National City Bank was originally known as the City Bank of Cleveland, founded in 1840. Then they grew from there. In 1865, they joined the national banking system under the National Bank Act. It became known as the National City Bank of New York. And by 1868, it was one of the largest banks in the US. In 2008, PNC Financial Services acquired them for about 5.2 billion.
Oof.
So they are now PNC.
Okay. So now we know who we're talking about, I guess, to our
Yeah.
modern listener.
Yeah. So in February of 1950, Juan Vilbren Gallium Sam, the son of a former president, established a dictatorship. And in July, when he faced a new anti American revolt, he massacred 167 political prisoners,
Whoa.
all of them from elite families, and particularly with German affiliations. After that, Sam was lynched
Yeah, I bet.
by by a mob in Port-au-Prince.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's, well, I mean, I'm not surprised, but it's still shocking, you know?
Let's see. So the who is the president now in the
What
US?
year is this? 19
1915.
Oh, that was Woodrow Wilson.
Correct. He sends 330 US Marines to Port-au-Prince July 28th, 1915. The specific order from the Secretary of the Navy to the commander, Admiral William DeVell Bundy, was to protect American and foreign interests
And foreign interests.
and
Just
forests
just
and foreign.
just not domestic. Hey, leave those guys their own stuff, but everything else take care of.
Yeah. There was an additional motivation that these guys had, and that was to replace the Haitian Constitution that prohibited foreign ownership of land.
That's so meddlesome.
Yeah. But they told the American people that the occupation was a mission to reestablish peace and order,
Oh, how could you be against
and
that?
nothing to do with any diplomatic
No
negotiations.
way. Just we're here for peace.
Yeah. So on November 17th, U.S. Marines captured Fort Rivere, which was a stronghold of the Cacos rebels. Now, the Haitian government had been receiving huge loans from American and French banks,
Yeah.
and they were starting to renege on these payments. So if a so they They figured if a anti-American government was established under Roosevelt Bobo, they were like, "We're never getting our money back." So within 6 weeks of the occupation, representatives from the U.S. controlled Haiti customs houses and administrative institutions, like banks and the National Treasury. Through American manipulation, 40% of the national income was used to alleviate the debt repayment to both.
40%. Wow.
Yes.
How I don't see how a nation can survive that. That's crippling.
Well, we're the ones with guns. This is what you're paying. And we control your banks, so
Yeah,
we can do it.
that's you could say the same thing about a bank robber. He goes in with the gun. It's like, "Hey, I've got the gun. We control the bank. I'll take all the money now. Thanks."
And they get the money with die packs, or, they get the money and they go outside. The cops are right there.
Hmm.
Only in this instance,
You are the
we
cops
were
too.
robbing them and the
Yeah.
cops.
Well, I think I don't know. I guess not to jump too far ahead with the Weimar Republic between World War One and Two with the German economic disaster, but to
Mhm.
leverage so much of one nation's economy just for reparations or payment renders that nation effectively unable to operate, and so you're losing your investment more and more. Which I guess their solution would be to control more and more of it and just reap it yourself,
Mhm.
but the big losers here are the Haitians.
Sandre Darginova, I know that's not right, but oh well, he's dead. They He agreed to accept the presidency of Haiti after a number of other guys were like, "No, we are not doing
Yeah,
this."
that's a sounds like a mess.
Yeah. In 1917, President Felipe dissolved the legislature after they refused to approve a constitution written by FDR,
FDR?
Franklin D. Roosevelt. Yes.
Wow, I didn't know he was in the picture at this point.
Yeah, he was Assistant Secretary of the Navy at this time.
Huh, just like Teddy was. Hmm.
Mm. Uh, so a referendum then approved the new constitution in 1918. This allowed foreigners to purchase land. So they finally got what they wanted with that.
That's crazy. But with the Monroe Doctrine, would Americans allow, like, the French, British, and Germans to buy land in Haiti? Or is that not interfering with their government? Is that just, "Oh, we're private citizens. We're just buying huge swaths of land with excellent port access."
Well, since I haven't read the document, I don't
Yeah,
know if
that's
it would restrict, but from what I found with the wording that I found, it just allows foreigners to purchase land. So I'm sure that they could go in there and do it, but that doesn't mean that the US is going to make it easy.
right. I could see that. And like you said, there was a big French population, a big German population. Now they're able to just buy stuff outright.
They don't have to marry locals to do that.
Right. The matchmaking business must have really taken a hit at this point.
Yeah. All right. So we're actually going to just leave it there for today. We'll find out what happens to Haiti
Oh,
next time.
I my heart really goes out to Haiti. Like I've visited there and read a little of their history, and it's just manipulation after manipulation by other powers, and it makes me very sad.
Yes. Yeah, no, this is not a good time for anybody.
Right.
So, what we do at the end of every episode is we honor one of our fallen angels with the help of herocards.us. And today we are going to be honoring Sergeant Alex C. Bonjuro. His hometown was West Allis, Wisconsin. He served in the U.S. Army with the 204th Engineer Combat Battalion. He received the Silver Star, Bronze Star, and Purple Heart. His date of sacrifice was March 3rd, 1945, killed in action in Germany. He was 22. Alex was a brilliant pianist, the sort of precocious talent that could move an entire room with the beauty of his play. And no one was prouder of her Alex than his mother. Every Christmas, she would beam with pride as young Alex would play carols for the family in their home in West Allis, Wisconsin. They were happy and the future seemed bright. But the darkness of the world intervened and Japan attacked Pearl Harbor. Alex was just 19, but his country needed him. The world needed him, and every other bright, talented young man like him to stop to stop the advancing darkness. Alex enlisted and was assigned to General George Patton's Third Army and quickly rose through the ranks to become a sergeant with the 204th Engineer Combat Battalion. He found that he was able to adapt at building and fixing things on the battlefield, as he was at the piano at home. And he fought in the Battle of the Bulge as Patton's army tore through Europe and beat the forces of darkness all the way back to Germany. The war was nearing its end, but victory was far from certain. Hitler's troops were retreating back to Berlin to regroup with Patton's army and couldn't let him rebuild his war machine. The Third Army followed them and ended the darkness once and for all. The 204th Engineers led the way, fortifying roads and building bridges to quite literally pave the way to victory. One footbridge over a stream in particular was crucial. Thousands of troops needed to cross, or else the mission would be compromised. The push to Berlin hinged on the building of that bridge. The Germans realized this too and tried to destroy it. Alex's company came under heavy fire. Fixing the bridge would be impossible. Even trying would mean certain death. As his men took cover, Alex decided that he knew what needed to be done. He grabbed his tools. Wading into the stream, he drew the enemy's fire immediately. His men provided cover as best they could, but bullets whizzed by him with each step he took. He faced certain death, but he couldn't stop. The bridge was just a few feet away, and the mission, the march to Berlin, perhaps the fate of the war and even the world were at stake. Alex reached the bridge, and with bullets still landing just inches from him, got to work. The seconds felt like hours, the minutes like days, but the bridge was fixed. The mission was saved. Allied forces could continue their march to Berlin, and Alex was the reason why. But he never got a chance to be thanked. As he made his way back to shore, enemy bullets cut him down. He was just 22 years old.
Wow.
Back home in West Allis, his mother was devastated when word reached her. The world was saved, but her world, it seemed, was over. For years, she refused to believe that he was gone, preferring instead to think he was just missing. He might come home any day. Still, deep down, she knew. For years, she stopped celebrating Christmas because she couldn't bring herself to listen to the silence where Alex's carols once filled their home. Their piano was silenced forever, but Alex's sacrifice on March 3rd, 1945, allowed the world to sing again. 2 months later, Germany surrendered. The war in Europe was won. The darkness was vanquished forever. And all because talented young men sacrificed everything, just like Alex Bongiorno, the pianist who built the bridge to victory. Sergeant Alex Bongiorno, Silver Star citation reads, "The President of the United States of America, authorized by Act of Congress July 9th, 1918, takes pride in presenting the Silver Star posthumously to Sergeant Alex, Army serial number 368-13044, United States Army, for gallantry in action as a member of the 204th Engineer Combat Battalion, 12 Corps, in action against an armed enemy on 3 March 1945 in Germany. During the construction of a footbridge under a heavy concentration of enemy small arms fire, for a section of the bridge became damaged and had to be replaced. Sergeant Alex voluntarily and with utter disregard for personal safety waded into the stream in plain view of the enemy and, working in the swift cold water with enemy small arms fire hitting all around him, accomplished the necessary repairs so construction could be completed. The gallant actions of Sergeant Alex in the face of withering enemy fire reflect great credit upon himself and uphold the highest traditions of the military service in the United States." So, Sergeant Alex, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, XO. Get us out of here.
All right. Well, once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening to our episode. I hope you got something out of it. I know I did. If you have comments or questions or just want to get a hold of us for any reason, there's a couple of ways to do that. Number one, you can email us at usnavyhistorypodcast@gmail.com. We're also on X/Twitter.
X
X
Twitter.
Twitter, the handle is at US. Oh my gosh, I mess this up every time. Hold on. USN History Pod? US Navy History Pod. It's either USN History Pod or US Navy History Pod. It's the one with the cool logo and not the other logo. You'll understand what I'm saying. Uh, just to avoid confusion, it's in the show notes. You just click and it'll take you right there. So that one is the one I'm talking about. We also have a Discord. Get on the Discord, chat with us, ask questions, learn things maybe. I don't know. Tell jokes. Tell us stories about when you were in the Navy, or maybe you have aspirations to be in the Navy. Let us know. We are also on YouTube, and feel free to rate us on iTunes or wherever you happen to get finer podcasts. Captain.
If you want to support us, we are making bonus episodes for anybody who wants to subscribe to that.
It's true.
Yeah. So with that, we're going to wish you guys fair winds and following seas. Bye.